Kuzuzangpo, I'm Ashok Tirwa. In this program, we have the member of delegation of American Chamber of Commerce India and the Secretary General of Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. On my left, we have Mr. Avinash Vasistha, the Chairman and Managing Director of Accenture India, and he's also the board member and head of delegation of American Chamber of Commerce India. And we have Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Gupta, the Managing Director of Accenture, who looks after the corporate affairs of the company. And we have Mr. Phupsring, who is the Secretary General of Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industries. So, Mr. Avinash, you must have already met with few businessmen in Bhutan. So, what are some of the outcomes and what are the possibilities that you see in Bhutan?
I think one of the things I see is a very significant eagerness to be able to connect with the businesses outside of Bhutan itself to benefit the growth of the businesses here in Bhutan. If you look at even people who have been involved in the agriculture, maybe in the ministry, people who have been involved in the healthcare, like doctors, serving in the hospitals, I think they also have that entrepreneurial streak in them, and I think they're looking at as to how they can actually get into some of the healthcare services. Then we saw and met some with entrepreneurs who really want to bring in some of the services into Bhutan. And again, the talent and the leadership is lacking here in Bhutan. I think that's something that is there in India quite a bit. So it gave them an opportunity to connect with leaders from India in terms of how they can collaborate and bring some of those things into Bhutan.
Okay. Mr. Sanjeev, how can we collaborate? Can we be more specific?
Yeah, I will pick up two areas where immediately we can look into. I think one is to enable the Bhutan economy for attracting the foreign investments. And how we can attract is to go into a really good talent pool available in Bhutan. And that is where the immediate collaboration starts with the companies who are member of the American Chamber of Commerce. They can enable some of the talent capability building leadership development program. In that case, you immediately start collaborating, and also you start putting up Bhutan on the world map. That look, you have a talent, you have a skills, you have a better economic policies, FDI policies, and then these investments starts coming in. So I think it's a stepwise approach, but it's a good one that we begin with.
Mr. Phupsring, how can we benefit from this delegation?
Well, I think their visit means quite a lot to the Bhutanese entrepreneurs. Our entrepreneurs have done business within the country, so I think a lot of exposures are needed. And they have a lot of experiences. They have global presence, not only in India. And this, we could take an advantage on their knowledge by networking with them, by learning from them. And of course, it may be possible one day also to working together in form of a joint venture collaboration. So we in the chamber take this delegation as a very important delegation who would be our future partners and who would also not only become future partners but become a bridge of our connection to other businesses in the world.
Earlier today, you also met with the Prime Minister of Bhutan. So what are some of the concerns that he showed, and what are the areas that he wanted to help from a company like yours?
I think it was a great opportunity to meet the Prime Minister. We were able to congratulate him on the recent elections and for the party to come in force. I think we also met up with the Economic Minister yesterday. I think one of the things that you could see from the Prime Minister is the connectivity he has with the issues of the country and the sense that he has as to if we need to work together, what are some of the things that we could work together as we move forward. There are certain things that the country is engaging from a government to government, which has got a long history. I think the next phase, if you may, from the Prime Minister's perspective, is to engage between companies to companies, the private sector, because this is where you can really develop and move beyond the development of the basic infrastructure, which normally has been taken care of from government to government. I think so. There is a lot of eagerness. So I would imagine that the model that would probably work very well would be a PPP model, where it's a partnership between the government as well as the enterprises. But the focus from him was definitely on sectors. Definitely infrastructure is an important sector. Health is there are good services in health over here, but that can also become better, but also become a base for providing health services to even people from outside. Education has got very significant opportunity with the building of the education city, and the fact that there are very good FDI norms in Bhutan to promote some of the global universities coming in to Bhutan itself. So that's another sector. I think also the services in general. Services are something that are going to drive the movement of Bhutan to become a more developed country itself. Food processing has a lot of scope as well. And again, if you look at it, the GDP right now is predominantly energy power, essentially. I think there are lots of things happening in terms of making the power transmission itself a lot more efficient in that. So I think the opportunities are there, but the key word that the Prime Minister said is he would like to be the enabler to connect businesses to businesses.
Okay. Sapusi, now India is seen as the biggest market for Bhutan. At least when you have an Indian market freely accessible to us. How can our business people go and invest in India with collaboration with business companies like Accenture or other companies?
The answer is very frankly, absolutely yes. And yesterday we had a meeting with the CEO of the Druk Holding Investment Company, and we were talking about of the collaborations, and I could see that he actually wants the entrepreneurs who are here in Bhutan to be scaling up their services and operations, able to encash, I would say that, the Indian market. But not only Indian market, collaborations with the companies who are multinationals in nature, and how those collaborations, to begin with from India, can go to other geographies in the world. Primarily, we'll have to do a couple of steps to enable that stuff. One would be the technology which is being used or being understood by the entrepreneurs here. If I pick an example of an IT, the emerging technologies which are coming up, how the Bhutanese IT firms can also go into a learning exercise of these emerging technologies, such as analytics, such as cloud computing, and also looking into, Mr. Avinash was talking about yesterday on the project management skills, how these skills can be increased, wherein when they go as a encash in the Indian market and collaboration with us, they are seen at some level of the companies. With this help of collaboration, with this help of understanding, you then go for businesses in India, where you have huge amount of opportunities, both from the private and the public sector. And that this all, and the other part I would say is that, the cost of operations in India is increasing very, very, very high in some of the, cities in Bangalore and other stuff. Bhutanese gives a advantage on that level. And that level of collaboration, if managed properly, can definitely help of improving the margins for the business. And I think it's a good opportunity for both. So just pick an example of an IT, but if you want to just replicate the models with the other stuff, as Mr. Avinash was talking about, of agriculture and food processing, there could be various ways of doing it. And especially in the market like in India, food processing is growing very fast.
So do we, Mr. Professor, do we have a conducive enabling policies in place to take our investment to market like India?
Well, there was a revision of the FDI policy in 2010. We also have the economic development policy. We need little refining in the FDI policy, but I think on the whole, the policy is very conducive, and we also have a lot of fiscal incentives attached to this EDP, which would give the investors a competitive advantage. And like I explained to the delegation yesterday, what is more important is the competitive atmosphere that we will try to offer to the investors. Firstly, we have a cheap power. It may not be true for so long because power tariffs gets revised, But what is very important is we have this political stability, and there are no labor unions here, so operations, can happen 24/7. So this would be another advantage. But at the same time, we also have disadvantages. Like Sanjeev is saying that there is a need for knowledge transfer, which essentially I feel that this is the first networking that we are doing. What is important for the Bhutanese entrepreneurs are to become an equal partner to whoever company you want to partner up, because they need you to be at a certain level, to be able to partner up. And this, I think, is a preparation phase where we will be getting knowledge from them on project management, what are the essentials, the human capital that is required to develop, and of course, like the environment. I said it's always there and it will be there. I think there will be improvement on the FDI policy which would make it more conducive, and we hope that some of the companies in this delegation, there are 20 companies who have come to Bhutan, and some of them have already have their presence here in form of a collaboration or a joint venture. But again, rest, I think, will also take on, of being here. What is very interesting about this delegation is we have a lot of consultancy firms, those which are very renowned in the world. And these companies are very instrumental in any investment setup, because everything needs to be done in the paper, researched, then only you can look at the profitability. Then only somebody will put their money in. So I think this is a first step, and we can assure them that we will offer them a very conducive environment.
Okay. So immediately, what should Bhutan do to encourage B2B connectivity?
I think the B2B connectivity probably should be looked at from two levels. I know it's a very small business community, but one is with companies that are larger companies. The priority sectors have already been figured out by the new government, and on those sectors we should focus on connecting the businesses to that. One of the things could be is bringing a delegation to India, and where AmCham, for example, would be more than happy to connect the business community with the right companies in India who would have an interest in that particular sector. I think the second level of connectivity is with companies who we would call, even in Bhutan, small and medium enterprises. And these are people who are very entrepreneurial, really, and these are very small companies. This is where I think it requires a lot more support from the government itself to be able to enable some mentorship, to enable certain investment in the basic business fundamentals that are required, so that these startups or these entrepreneurs can become basic business people, and need to invest in connecting them to the investors, to the mentors, and to the opportunities, let's say in India. And that is not going to be just possible on their own, because they don't have that much money and that kind of a network. So this is where the government or the BCCI needs to really help out.
So when we are talking about B2B connectivity, whatever investment comes here, ultimately for most of the things that we produce here, we'll have to find a market in India. So what are the reasons that we have so that we can even encourage businessmen like yourself to come into Bhutan and invest?
Well, I would like to recall the statement of Your Majesty and as well as the Economic Affairs Minister. And he actually said this, and I want to repeat what Vinay was talking in the morning with us, all of us. Look, the investments comes for opportunity, scale of the market, etc., etc. But it also comes when you feel that this is a place where you have some passion, something which connects you culturally, something which makes you feel good about it. So investments happen in both the cases. What I feel is that the beginning of the investment will start from the second part. Is that, for example, this is my second visit, right? And I fall in love with this country.
Okay.
Right. If I would see some opportunities where I can bring some of the strength here, why not? Now that's not looking into the market size, not looking like, that, okay, fine, can we do a business from here, or we can bring some services from here to some other part of the export from here to some other part of the world. It's not the case. But it is more of to begin with here. And once the entrepreneurs, the businessman here starts working with these companies, that's where immediately they will become like what you said, the mentors, working with them. And then the next step is to go into the other markets. Second part comes a little bit far ahead than the first one.
You're talking more like a friend than a businessman.
Absolutely.
What do we have to offer them?
Well, like Sanjeev was saying, if not scale, we can at least offer them a brand that comes with the philosophy of this country of happiness, and maybe a component, even if you are a multinational company, some component which is based on the philosophy of gross national happiness would essentially be very helpful to make their business model much more acceptable because of the changing process of human thinking now. So this could be a place where they can embed this by taking this philosophy from where the philosophy is born, and this JNH philosophy is born in Bhutan. So I think this makes sense for them, and that would be a major share or equity that we can give them, not in terms of material or capital.
So would you like to add on that?
I think very well said, and I think the beginnings right now have to start with that, as you just said about this is more friendship rather than business. I think that's where it has to start. I think people have to connect, the cultures have to connect, and we have to learn certain things from Bhutan, and the gross national happiness is something that we can all learn from it. Even the political process that has taken place over here, is relatively very, very peaceful, and the kind of people that have come into the government is just excellent. And I think other democracies, including India, can learn from that as well. So there's always something to take. So the beginnings will have to be very much culture, people, and at the country based, and then I think we will look at how to grow the business.
I would appreciate the Honorable Prime Minister talking in the morning, saying that Bhutan and the other part of the world were more linked into as a government to government interactions, and today is the right time when government has gone for the economic development plan. It's the right time when the parliamentarians and the ministers are very sharp and very bright. They know what exactly they are looking at it. I think it's the right time when the business and business interactions, more from the cultural and friendship perspective, has to start with. And the best statement that he said is, tell me, MCHA members, can I be your enabler? Right? It was impressive. It shows the the vision that he is carrying with him. It shows that his passion for bringing the right guys on the table and saying, find out the venues, find out the avenues where you can work together. Right? It could be a small. Last but not the least, Your Majesty said, don't worry about that operation will start in next 3 months or 6 months. It's a beginning. It might take 1 year or 2 years. I'm 100% confident that we will definitely be able to collaborate more. So time is not the parameter. The way that we work together is the parameter. So both the leaders talking in such a way, this is like a very positive sign.
So the first thing you're looking at it is training and support. How are you going to bring it to Bhutan? Do you have any plans as of now, rough ideas?
So I think Accenture has done quite a bit of work on training, essentially on the vocational training. Even we have a CSR program called Skills to Succeed, that we actually train people in the rural areas, and so that they can find jobs after that training. So that has really gone extremely well. But we're also collaborating with National Skills Development Corporation, which is a mandate in India to skill about 500 million people by 2022. So that's a very significant goal, and we are a partner to NSDC in enabling that stuff. So I think we would like to bring the experience that we have had into Bhutan. What that also means is to be able to connect NSDC to the Bhutan equivalent as well, because that way they can share the best practices. And since Bhutan and India already have a very long history of collaborating on things like this, I think that would be building on the kind of collaboration that exists between India and Bhutan. So that's a very quick one that we can actually collaborate on. That's one where we know it will pay a lot of dividends, because today, as Sanjeev was also saying, one of the pillars that will guide the growth of Bhutan, one of them is talent.
So that will also help us to create employment within the country, and as well as you are saying that you can use your connectivity with the rest of the world to find employment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you see, for example, the construction sector, infrastructure in Bhutan is increasing. I know the statement 7% of the area is actually usable for the construction and the industry and residential purpose. Imagine that how much pressure is on that, and the way the growth is happening, the young population of Bhutan. So you will have the pressure creating more and more in the coming years. And that's where you will find the demand of infrastructure will come out. So where you will fill this demand. So the people will be serving those particular opportunities are the right skill guys. And the right skill guys is being done with the industry partnership. So if you have an industry partners who is actually able to provide the content and the curriculum and work with the training institutions and academic institutions to provide the training programs, and you get the skills drums, you already have an opportunity in Bhutan to get employed. Else, it is also an opportunity for them to go abroad and then take in employment opportunities. There are, India and I think the subcontinent of India is been seen as more like a high-skilled hub, which is going to be serving the world, right? And all of us from India or Bhutan will be part of that. So even within the country and outside the country, there are a huge amount of opportunities for us.
I understand this is the initiative of Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industries to bring this delegation home. So what are we expecting finally?
Well, actually, to be very honest, the initiative came from AmCham. They requested that a delegation would be sent to Bhutan, but we gladly accepted. The reason why we are doing this, the chamber as an apex body should be a resource place where informations are passed down to our own members. And we couldn't have a better opportunity than having all the CEOs from 20 companies. These are such a big resource that if we as a company or if an entrepreneur wants to meet with them, it would be very expensive because time for them is always a money. So we took it in a very positive way, and we said, why not we capitalize on this visit, a free transfer of knowledge, even if it is basics, so that later on we can build on this. So that's why I think this gives us a lot of opportunities. And I would like to urge all our Bhutanese entrepreneurs that any entrepreneurship starts with knowing each other, trusting each other, and that happens not in form of a business deal of paying and buying, but understanding each other first. And this is a platform where I think we have been able to create that, and some of our entrepreneurs have already met them. So now they become friends and partners. Maybe, like Sanjeev said, it may take some time to, come to the level that is required. But since the beginning is already made, and I think this is one of the most useful output we consider that we got out of this delegation. And linking this to our future interactions, I think we will have a lot of opportunities because they are linked to the whole entrepreneur network in India, AmCham, and also globally. So we have succeeded in creating a channel of communication, and this is what is very important, I think, we consider for our business to understand. And we would like to urge that not only this delegation, whenever there's a trade delegation or an entrepreneur delegation visiting, I think every member of the Bhutanese entrepreneur should make it a point that they meet them and understanding, getting information, because information and knowledge is key to everything, and this is where you get that. So we consider this visit as very successful, very fruitful, and hope the other side also thinks the same way.
So finally, sir, considering the connectivity that the AmCham has and the experience, the kind of experience you have, what kind of support can you extend to our Bhutan Chamber of Commerce and Industries? Quickly, sir.
Well, I think as you rightly said, I think this is the beginning of the interaction. We are in AmCham represents very big businesses, global. I think we have an interest in collaborating with businesses over here. We are more than happy to extend hosting of the visits over here, and we are more than happy to even have, for example, students and to get employment in some of our companies. We would be more than happy to facilitate that as well. And if any delegation is coming in into any of the cities, for example, in Bangalore or in Delhi, one or more of our companies will be more than happy to support their entire delegation to have them connect with different businesses.
Okay.
Yep.
Few lines from you, sir.
So the last point would be, the sector-specific meetings could be a next step where sector-specific means that the sector-specific business leaders from Bhutan, comes to India, and we have a sector-specific CEOs of the different companies meet them, and then start going into a little bit of deeper interactions. And the second would be, I think the student community needs also to be exposed, because entrepreneurship is not just created in a one stand. It is like an igniting the minds. So if you can ignite the minds at the beginning level itself, and when they are exposed to the other companies, I think they will become a fantastic entrepreneurs in the coming years. So how you do that is to give them an opportunity to be exposed to these companies, their business style, their business models, and they will be then understanding the knowledge and then saying, I can also do the same thing. I think that's the level of next step that will come into play.
Okay, thank you very much for being on the show. And on that note, I would like to wish you the best of luck and safe journey back home. And thank you for coming to Bhutan. For our viewers, thank you very much for watching this program. This has been another Business File program. Do join us next week for another Business File program. This is goodbye.